Good afternoon, or good morning. This is Bob Gorley with Bob's Truth Seekers podcast number 106. And I am with Glenn Swartfager. I always knew him as Herb, but how do you prefer being called?
Everybody calls me Herb.
Herb. And how did you get the name Herb?
Well, when I was a little fella, I had red hair and freckles. And Herbie in the funny papers, he's always in trouble, and I was always in trouble, so they started calling me Herbie.
So you've had your Herbie all your life, Herb, and
Yeah.
well, that's and who's your father and mother?
Harry Swartfager and Ruth Swartfager.
And they set a high bar for you. Harry was known as the best welder in the area all of our life, and so that's he kept a very good reputation.
Yeah, did a lot of work.
How many brothers and sisters do you,
I got two brothers and two sisters, and a brother and sister that died at birth or shortly after.
And you still have one sister alive?
Yes, Janet,
Janet is still alive. And where does she live at?
up on the farm.
All right. I saw her up at Aldi's the other day, and I go, "Whoa, Janet!" And she said Terry took her up there.
Yeah, Terry takes her some, we take her some, Penny takes her some. We kind of look after each other.
Great. When did you learn how to weld?
Oh, when I was a teenager.
And you graduated from Red Bank?
Yeah.
Was it called Red Bank?
Yeah.
And when was that?
57.
57. Who was your favorite teacher?
I don't know. Mr. Strang was the ag teacher. I liked him pretty well. And Thad Mills, was it Thad? Mills. He only taught 1 year, but I thought he was a great teacher.
Then when you got down to the high school, what did you do?
I went to work on a farm.
Do you like farming or welding better?
Farming.
Farming was a lot nicer.
My brother Lee was a much better welder.
So, were you cattle farming, pig farming, grain farming?
We did a little bit of all of it. We had dairy cows, we had beef cows, we had hogs.
Oh, that's right. You had milk cows.
Yeah.
That keeps you busy all the time, doesn't
Oh
it?
my. Start at 4 in the morning and go to 9 or 10 at night.
Yes, farming's
It's a good life, but it's not easy.
It's hard to be profitable, but it's, like you said, very rewarding.
Yeah.
Watch things grow. And
Yep.
what's the most pigs you ever had?
Probably 30 or 40.
I remember you had them up here, and
Yeah.
and then cattle. How many dairy cattle did you have?
We mostly run around 40 or 35 or 40 milk cows. And then we mostly had 40 or 50 beef cows.
Have you noticed how the price of beef has changed?
Oh my, I can't believe it. I don't know how anybody could afford to buy feeders.
Or how you can feed a family?
Oh my, yeah.
What do you remember the price of ground beef used to be?
Well, my wife has the first receipt that she bought groceries after we was married. And you wouldn't believe the prices. She had a list about that long. I think it come out to what, $17 or something. So, yeah, I don't remember what.
Well, milk used to be pretty cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And bread was cheap, and gasoline. Remember what gasoline was back then?
I think it was like 22, 23 cents. I remember when I was pretty young, we didn't use much gasoline, but we had a 55-gallon drum and that sat in the corn crib. And that's when we wanted gasoline, we'd get it out of that drum. But it was 17 cents.
Thinking back in the olden days, was this road up here always blacktop, or do you remember when it was dirt? The road out.
No.
It was always.
It was blacktop and pinchos.
Okay.
Was governor, and that was before my time.
So the reason why Velma, who's 101 years old, said that she remember when they rocked this road out here back in the, well, like you said, before your time, but
yeah,
must have been
yeah.
way back. So how did you meet Sandy, your wife?
Blind date.
Where at?
Well, we met. Her cousin called me, wanted to know I wanted a date. And I said, I'm not doing anything else, why not? So I said I'd meet them in Clarion. And that's where we met, and I think we went to a drive-in the first night, and then we just kind of.
And how long from then till you got married?
I don't know how long.
July. We met July. Got engaged in December and got married in April. Because all his brothers had to get married in April because of the farm. Like hay, hay and.
Before the farm work started.
So then how long until you had children?
Just almost exactly a year. Andrea was born.
And how many children do you have?
2. Andrea and Mark.
And how many grandchildren do you have?
3.
Mark has 3.
3?
Yeah.
Alrighty. And,
No great-grandchildren yet.
well, stick around.
We're too young to have great-grandchildren.
Well, one never knows. So, and then one of your other occupations, you were a township supervisor?
I was for a couple terms.
And how did you like that?
It was all right.
What did you learn from dealing with poor townshipians?
Mostly when someone would call with a complaint, they had a legitimate complaint. And we went to seminars and stuff. And I learned more about building roads and stuff like that I didn't know before. But for the most part, it was, it was a job.
Do you remember the first president you voted for? you vote for Kennedy?
Oh, yeah.
All right, that was he's a well-known presidential person.
He was over in Germany in the army when President Kennedy got shot in this.
Yeah.
When did you go into the military?
60.
Were you drafted or did you volunteer?
Draft.
You were
Drafted,
drafted
yeah.
into. And where did you go for your basics?
Fort Knox.
And then they shipped you to.
Then I went to Fort Bliss,
And where's Fort Bliss at?
Texas.
Texas. Was it hot down there?
Oh, yeah. But it was dry. They say, it's dry. Well, 100 degrees is 100 degrees. I don't care whether it's dry or not. But I trained in Nike missiles down there. And then I went to Germany. I was over there, I think, 18 months.
So were you in the military for how many years?
2.
2 years and now. And what did you learn in there?
Well, how to fire Nike missiles.
What did you think of Germany?
Beautiful country, clean.
Did they fly you over or did you go on a boat over there?
I went once on a boat, and then they flew us back to Texas to fire missiles, and then we flew back over, and then I come home on a boat.
How long would it take for you? Where did you get on the boat at?
New York.
And so you went from New York to where did the boat take you to?
Bremerhaven.
Holland. Is that what you said?
Bremerhaven.
Where's that at?
And northern part of Germany.
So you went from New York to Germany. How many, do you know how many people were on that boat?
I can't remember.
Did you get seasick?
I didn't, but some of them fellas, I felt sorry for them. They were sick from the day we left till we got there. I really felt for them.
Well,
We got into a storm one night, and that ship would stand right up on its tail, and then it would come down. And when it did, it creaked and cracked and moaned. I didn't think it was going to stay together, but it did.
it must have been welded correctly.
Oh my, it was a bad storm.
That's,
And we had a fellow that got appendicitis, and there was on that ship, there was no medical, no operating room or anything. So we pulled up alongside another ship that had an operating room, and at night they threw the rope across to one ship to the other and put this fellow on a gurney and slid him across the rope to this other ship. They operated on him and he got fine. That was something to see. In the middle of the night, everything was black, but they did it. That wasn't the first time they ever done it.
then when you came back on a ship, was it more smoother on the way back, or did people get seasick on the way back also?
Oh, yeah, guys got sick.
It was.
Yeah, it was smoother going. I mean, we didn't get into any storms coming back, but they still got.
And you didn't get seasick either direction?
That never bothered me, but
So, back when you first started farming, how was the equipment?
we had one tractor, bought it new in July of 44. They were just starting to produce tractors again after the war.
What flavor of tractor was it? Who made that tractor?
It was a Farmall M.
Farmer.
We got it through Rice in Clarion. And we was cutting wheat with it, and it lost its oil pressure. So Gordon Rice, he came down and dropped the oil pan. And here they'd forgot to put some of the bearings in. And he wanted to just put bearings in it, put it back together. Dad wouldn't let him. He said, I don't want it. He said, what else did they forget to put in? And so then we went to Brookville. And the international dealer up there, he had an M, so we got that one. And Tom Weeder, he had an M, it was a 1941 M. But Dad took him up and he drove it home from Brookville. And
Tom Weeder drove it home, or who drove it home from Brookville?
Tom
Weeder drove it home.
Yeah.
That would take a while.
Dad wouldn't let us. We didn't know how to drive a tractor, but Tom had one, so he took him up to drive it home. But that's the one we still have.
So you started with, you still have the M?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yep, the old war horse. Everybody knew it was the old war horse.
Look how many years it's made it. You know, it's,
Then when we got it, I can still remember, and I wasn't very old. I was born at 39, and that was 44, so, you know, I wasn't very old, but I can still remember it was sitting up there in front of the old shop, and it was just an old wood building, and it had car doors for windows, and it was, you just used what you had. And it was like a fair. People come in to see this big new tractor. And I couldn't imagine why anybody would want such a big tractor. And today, it's not hardly as big as the motors in them today, but it was.
do you remember how many horsepower that tractor had?
23.
And the lawnmowers have about that many anymore.
Well, yeah, but it's different horsepower.
So.
It's rated different.
Do you remember how old you were when you started driving the tractor?
Probably about the first time I remember driving it myself was in this field right up here. And I'm probably about 6 years old, maybe 7. And Dad told me to hook it into the old hay wagon. It was just a wagon with a flat bed on it. I picked stone. I was allowed to drive it to pick stone, and
Yeah, that's a pretty big piece of equipment for a 6-year-old.
oh yeah, 'cause to push a clutch in, you had to get a hold of the steering wheel and sit on the edge of the seat, and you could still hardly push it in. But
Even some of the stones would be pretty heavy to pick up when you're 6.
oh yeah,
Do you ever remember picking wild mustard?
oh my. When I was 6 years old, I was sent out to pull weeds out of the field. And I'll tell you what, 10-acre field full of weeds looks pretty big to a 6-year-old.
And it takes a long time.
Oh my. I pulled a lot of weeds.
So how did you get along with your brothers and sisters?
Good. Good. Lee and I was probably the closest because we worked together every day.
And what was your standard breakfast when you were growing up?
Well, I can't hardly remember, but I think it was mostly cereal.
Did you have chickens?
Oh yeah, we had chickens, but we hardly ever ate eggs. We had to sell the eggs to get money to buy sugar because we were poor. We didn't have anything.
Things have really changed in your lifetime. That 25 cents meant a lot back then.
Oh my, yeah. I know I was 12 years old, and Clint Swires, our neighbor, he got sick. I forget what he had, but anyway, they came over and wanted to know if I could work for them. Well, I was only 12 years old, and I wasn't a very big fella to start with. But Dad said I could, and they paid me $1 a day, and that was big money.
Yeah.
And I would stay there and go to school and work, and that's when I said I would never have chickens, because they had a lot of chickens, and I had to clean the coops and feed them, and I didn't like that.
Which farm was the Swire farm?
Where Argyle lived.
Oh, okay.
That was the Swire farm.
Well,
And Clinton Flora, she was an old German woman, a pretty big woman. She ruled the roost.
did you say Flora?
Flora, yeah.
Was she named for cookies? She makes some good cookies?
I don't remember cookies, but
I briefly remember a Flora that made sugar cookies. That's why I didn't know if it was the same person or not.
oh, could be.
So,
But she, I don't remember. I wasn't very old though. She died before Clint did, quite a while. It seemed to me like it was only a couple of years after I worked for them that she passed away.
did you ever farm with using horses?
I never did.
So
We had horses.
that tractor saved you from that.
Yeah. But I remember my brother Lee, hair and ground with the team. And of course, I was running along behind too. You know, I had, but I never drove horses. But we had Dan and Mary, and Dan died, and so we just had Mary then. And we used her to pull hay up. We put in loose hay while we had a big long rope and we'd hook and she'd, and I.
Your dad was really strong. I remember him taking a sledgehammer and pulling it back and touching his nose with it. And I was a little kid and I tried and I couldn't even start to do that. It would have hit me right in the face.
He was strong.
Really strong.
Guys used to gather in up home here on Sunday afternoons, and sometimes we'd play volleyball in the barn. We'd put the net across the barn floor and we'd play volleyball. And sometimes we'd just hang around the old shop. We always had heat in there. And we had an old pair of bathroom scales we used for weighing the iron. But anyway, young guys were in there, a bunch of them. They got to squeezing this scale to see who was the strongest, how many pounds they could squeeze on it. Well, Dad, he come in there and he was watching on. He said, "Let me see them scales." He took one hand, he held it out like that, and he started squeezing 250 pounds. That's as high as it would go. And the guys, and some of the guys are pretty good size. You know, they couldn't get 250 pounds with both hands. And he had an awful grip on them. But he blacksmith all his life, and
so you made it through that far. Some of the changes you've seen in the township. Like how's more farms, less farms, no dairy farms anymore?
Well, when I was a teenager, putting there, every farm sold milk. Maybe only 1 or 2 cans, and we sold it in cans then. But they made enough money, they raised a family, and they lived. And now I think there's only, well, I don't know if there's any dairy farms in Porter Township anymore.
If there are, there's not very many. like you said,
I think Henry's was the last one.
They used to have, everybody had a dairy farm,
Oh yeah, everybody had
and now there's like hard to come by.
Well, no. Well, I don't know, McCauley's and Henry's, but I can't, they're both just grain farming now.
What was the biggest disaster you saw in this area? Like whether it's a hurricane or a fire or what disaster do you remember?
Well, I don't know. When Agnes went through, it washed a lot of fields and caused a lot of.
Was that in like the late 50s or early 60s?
I don't remember when Agnes went through.
And that was a hurricane that came up from Florida and came up through and wiped out.
Circled around and come in, yeah.
We lost our apple trees. There's 3 big apple trees that got wasted when that Agnes came through. It was handy, this 1960, 58, 60, somewhere in there.
Didn't you say snow was, at one time, everybody had to open a road for a pregnant lady to get to the hospital?
Oh yeah, one time. I had went to Clarion for something. But anyway, I come home, and the top of the Survey Hill used to be high banks on both sides, and it was level full. And Velma Weeder
Lucas
was pregnant and needed to get to the hospital.
Oh.
And there was me and Floyd Moore and Rayburn Shenefeld on the far side, and we were shoveling.
Like hand shoveling?
Oh yeah, trying to get a path
And
through.
it's 10 feet high.
Oh, yeah, on the right-hand side. I mean, and it just, sloped down. But we were shoveling in the lowest place trying to get a path through so we could get home. And Bob came up to see if we had a snowplow on our tractor. See if we'd go up and try to get it open so that he gets to the hospital. Well, for some reason, the lift on the snowplow quit working. So they grabbed scoop shovels, and there was Dad and Argyle and Bob and Tom. I don't remember whether Dwight was there or not. But anyway, they were shoveling from this side. And we finally got through.
By hand shoveling.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes they have like graders and excavators can hardly get through there.
Oh, but we finally got through and got Bob and Velma going. And but boy, oh boy, you take 8 or 10 guys, big scoops, you can move a lot of snow pretty fast. And nobody, I mean, we had to get her through, so we were working.
Wasn't it still blowing snow in there?
Oh my, yes. And then to top it all off, there was a guy. He had an old Dodge pickup, and he had chains on it, but he had a load of coal on it. Well, we were almost through. He decided he could go. Well, he waited in there, and then we had to shovel around him through the deep snow. Boy, I'll tell you what, he's lucky somebody didn't.
You got blocked off.
Everybody was mad.
So.
Yeah. But, as far as disasters, I really can't remember anything really bad, Like one thing, and I was very, very young, I don't know, maybe 5, but McDonald's house burnt over here.
And where's the McDonald house?
It was between Grove Delps and Clare Gorley's.
Okay.
And it's set up in there on a little piece of ground. And the dad, and there was, I forget how many kids. But anyway, it was in the wintertime, cold, and he got up first to build a fire in the stove. Well, it wasn't warming up fast enough, so he put a little kerosene on it. Well, when he did, everything went. Well, everybody got out, but he got burnt terrible. And Dad and Claire Gorley, they got him, and Claire had a new Dodge car. And they got him in the back seat of that car, took him to Katanning. Dad said when they took him out of the car, that the bottom of his feet stayed in the car. That his feet were burnt so bad that he went back in them and to get the kids out, and he got burnt bad. And he didn't make it. He died, but. And what really, when I was down in the garage, this fella come in there one day, and he told me he was a McDonald.
Oh.
And here he was one of the kids.
That survived the fire.
Yeah. And we were were sitting there in the office, and he broke down and started to cry. He said, I'll never get over that. And he was some kind of construction or something, but they had a job in the area, and he remembered our name, and he seen the sign on the garage, so he stopped. And but that was bad. But I can't think of,
And you bought Don Phillips's place and ran it for a while?
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years. Bet you see a lot of people go through there then.
Oh,
A lot of customers.
oh yeah, one time we had a lot of customers. Worked some pretty long hours just to get things done.
So all your life you've worked some pretty long hours.
Oh yeah.
And then in your later years, you rebuilt some tractors?
Oh yeah. Well, I always rebuilt tractors and overhauled the motors and stuff. But I worked for Kenny, for my nephew, for a few years. And he had a bunch of antique tractors, and I redid them. And
What was the name of those tractors? Are they like Olivers or?
Whatever come along.
A
The
wide,
only ones I didn't like very well were John Deere's.
no.
I didn't care to work on a John Deere. But, international case was pretty prevalent around here. And, but I built some pulling tractors. I put a Dodge diesel in, Cummins diesel in one for Kenny. It made about 700 horsepower. That thing was wild.
So, if you had the opportunity to go out and eat with somebody from any time in life, who would you like to get? Would you enjoy eating with, like going out for a meal? Basically, to talk with. If you had a chance to talk with somebody, who would you enjoy talking to?
Probably my wife. Other than that.
That's a pretty good, you can't give a better compliment than that, can you?
Right.
It would be, you think, well, boy, I wish I'd asked Dad about that, or I wish I'd asked, you think about things and you think, I wish I knew more about that, but it just, at the time, it didn't seem important,
Well, he was a very important person when we grew up, and that's why I was hoping that, reflect a little bit on him. And I knew he was super strong. Like I couldn't squeeze scales to go 250 either. But I thought I was strong, and I tried that sledgehammer. That was dangerous.
I've seen Dad and Uncle Gene both take a 20-pound post maul and right out at the end of the handle, and they'd let her down to their nose and push her back up.
So, if you had any suggestions for the youth of today, what would you suggest?
I don't know. Seems like the youth has no respect for anything. They want everything instantly. They don't want to. That's what it seems to me. But I suppose I'm just an old fogey. But it seems like they.
What it seems like to me, like anymore, is the youth. They live on their phones. They don't talk to people face to face.
Yeah.
Like if you're out someplace and looking at a beautiful view, they're on their phone, not even seeing the beautiful view.
Exactly right, and I think technology is way ahead of where it should be. I think there's a lot about that man don't understand. I think someday it's going to come around to bite them.
I think we grew up in a good era. Like the kids today, they just don't see. Like they're on that phone all the time.
Yep.
So.
Well, our grandson was up here, and you can tell it better than I can about not being able to read.
Oh yeah, I showed him a letter, and he said he was in school but at home during the COVID, and he had a very hard time reading cursive writing because everything is printed and on the computers, and he had a very hard time.
I do think that cursive writing is almost like a thing of the past.
I think so too.
Like it's just. And even writing out words now, it's like YOU is just you.
Oh yeah, true, yeah.
So everything's shortcutted from how it used to be.
Right.
I don't know. A whole lot more I don't know than what I do know.
Well, when was the smartest you ever were in your lifetime? When did you think you were the smartest you ever were?
Oh, when I was a teenager, I knew it all.
That's what I agree. When I was a high school senior was when I peaked out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So.
And when you think back, there were some things you know that you did understand better than the older generation, because they wanted to keep everything just the same. They never wanted to advance. They just, I'm doing okay. I don't want to change. And there were things that the younger people had a better idea of.
When you grew up, when you were young, did you have an outhouse?
Oh yeah.
Indoor plumbing really made a nice improvement, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it was 1950 when we put the bathroom in the house.
That was a vast improvement.
Yeah, oh why.
So.
In the summertime, the flies bothered you. In the wintertime, you froze. But you didn't linger long.
No. So, is there anything else you guys would like to discuss?
I don't know anything.
Well, I appreciate you taking time for this podcast. Thank you, and Guess we're gonna turn it off.
Alrighty.
We had a coal furnace, and I was afraid to fire it too much up at the farm.
And was that before or after the McDonald fire?
Oh, it's way after.
So you knew that it could be dangerous.
Yeah, and Florida Pearl was in college. Janet was staying with somebody. I don't remember who.
So were you the youngest or the second youngest?
Janet's younger
Janet's the
than
youngest
I,
one.
yeah. And I got sick. And I thought, man, I gotta keep going. There ain't nobody else to do it. So I run the bathtub full of hot water. And Dad always mixed up whorehound candy and whiskey.
What type of candy?
Whorehound candy.
I like
You
the brown.
probably never heard of it.
I never heard of Forehound candy.
Yeah. And he would put a pound of whorehound candy in a fifth of whiskey, and that was a cold medicine. And and I put extra blankets on my bed. And so I poured me a glass of this whiskey. I drank it, and then I crawled in the bathtub. And I could hardly get out of the bathtub. But I made it across the hall to get in bed, and I had extra covers on, and I evidently really sweat. The next morning I felt like $1,000,000.
Purged yourself.
But it,
Well, didn't you say whenever you were doing all the farm work and stuff, that Miss Campbell said it'd be wise if you stay awake? But he was,
I fell asleep in her
Oh,
English class.
well,
And Miss Campbell, Mr. Swartfager, I think it would be wise if you paid attention in class. Yes, ma'am. But yeah.
going from 4 to bus came. Going from 4 a.m. in the morning till the bus came, and then going to school and
then working until it was dark.
yeah.
It wasn't an easy time, I can tell you that.
Maybe that's what makes you tough.
Now, how long have you guys been married?
60 years.
That's that. The newer generations don't seem to stick around like that. They're easy to walk away, whereas
Oh yeah, they have a problem, instead of working it out, they just, I'm gone.
where our generation grew up, that's your lifetime partner. You know, like, you go, deal with it.
You got a problem, you work it out.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed. And they say there's no global warming. Well, maybe there isn't, but there's something changing. Because it's not like it was 50 years ago.
There's more contrails up there in the sky than there used to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they're helping adjust the weather or not, weather patterns.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you see how many planes go a day, like,
Yes, yes.
wow.
You remember when if you saw one a day, you're happy. You know?
Oh yeah.
So now they're all over the place.
Well, when I was a young guy, there were no deer around here.
And now
And if you saw a deer running, everybody run and looked, because there weren't any deer. And then they brought some in down out of the North Woods, and then now we've got too many, but
There's lots of car wrecks because of them.
oh my.
Have you hit a deer?
I hit one deer in my lifetime. I had a brand new car.
And did you hit it or did it hit you?
No, well, it come out on the road.
So
And
you
when
hit
it
it.
did, I knew I couldn't stop. And it had a floor shift. And I thought, well, if you're gonna smash it, you might as well do it good. So I hit second gear and floored it, and the front end come up, and I went right over him.
Oh yeah.
Our daughter-in-law had one go over her car, and the insurance company put a new roof on the car. Like, really?
Yeah, he buckled the roof when he went back over it. It was just a pretty new car.
Yeah, right.
But they cut the roof off and put a new one on. And you know they don't weld panels in anymore. They glue them in. And that glue, once it sets, you can't tear it off of there. It's I don't know what it is, but it's good stuff.
So I didn't know that there's very few deer, but I guess there's more deer when. But when you remember when there's hardly any deer.
Oh yeah, if you saw a deer run across the field, everybody run to look because you never seen them.
And we did grow up. When we grew up, you had guns on the back of your. If you had a pickup, you had.
Oh
one.
yeah.
That was just standard procedure.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, there's a lot of things changed. I know in '45 we built a snowplow for on that tractor, and we plowed snow for the township. And they had one truck, and I think they had an old grader. But anyway, we contracted with the township to plow snow. We did, I don't know whether we did that more than 1 year or not. But there again, Dad would run it some, not very much. Our guy run it a lot, and Tom we'd run it a lot.
And that was a Farmer M
Yeah.
they had.
And
I think I remember seeing that plow. That was before my time, but the plow was and the tractor was still alive when I came along.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we sold the plow to Harold Over, and he plowed for Monroe Township.
Oh,
He had a name. And I don't know what happened to it after that. Probably got junked.
your sister taught me in school. I had her for 6th grade,
Yeah.
and I always liked she would read out of a book at the end of the day, which was always nice. So
Yeah. I know I had, younger people come into the garage down there. One know Flo was my sister. I really liked her. She was a good teacher.
she was a very good teacher.
I told her one day, I said, you ever stop to think how many lives you influenced by being a school teacher? Yeah, a lot of kids. And I don't know how many years she taught, but
So Sandy, what was your maiden name?
My maiden name was Dudash.
Where's the Dudashes from?
I was born in New Jersey.
New Jersey, so.
And my dad was killed when I was 10 months old in a Army Air Force crash down in Fort Stewart. He was a gunner bombardier, and he was the only one killed out of his crew. And my grandparents came from Hungary, both sets. And one thing that Herb and I have always talked about, my grandmother had numbers on her arm.
From World War II?
Yeah.
Or World War I don't know.
No, too.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but you know, you think, why didn't I ask her about them? But and I spoke Hungarian until I was 3, and then I come out here. My mom married a man from Clarion, so we come out here. We lived in a great big city, and we come out here. No water, you know, just water on a pitcher, and then no bathroom inside. It's like, she must have really loved them.
That'd be culture shock, all right.
What did you say, you were 13 months old when your father died?
10 months old
10
when my
months-
dad
10
was
months
killed.
old.
Yeah. He was a military policeman, but he always wanted to fly. So then when he flew, they were training and they crashed. Boy, oh boy.
So a doodash.
Doodash, yes.
Yeah. I remember when her cousin called, wanted to know if I wanted to date. And I said, who is it? And he said, Sandy Dudash. And I said, well, what kind of a name is that?
Right. I've never heard of a doodash either.
Yeah.
Yeah, my other grandparents were Mishoks.
What were they?
Mishok.
How do you spell that?
Misak.
And were they Hungarian?
Both sets come through Ellis Island. Yep. Yep. But-
My wife's grandparents came through Ellis Island.
Yeah,
And you know, they did it the right way. You know.
Right, right. Right, yep.
So,
Yep, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, out along the road out here, there used to be a couple houses sitting on the upper side of the road. One out there just about right across from Rankin Road there.
uh-huh.
Set up on the bank, and people lived in them.
And that was on your property?
Not then, it wasn't.
Oh, so you didn't own that at that time?
No. No, Patrick's owned it at that time.
Well, then when did you guys get the farm?
I can't remember when we did buy it.
They had a chance to buy the farm where Applebee's, Holiday Inn,
McLaren?
all those are.
I can still remember Mom saying we paid $7,500 for this one. And Freeze Farm was for sale, $15,000. And I can hear Mom saying we could never pay for that. Well, back then $1,000 was a lot of money.
It was.
And I said, boy, if they'd have just so, and the Freeze Farm, you know, it was the Freeses that owned the Freeses Chrysler Dodge in Clarion. And it was set up for dairy and it was a nice farm, but Abby Mays bought it. But they could have bought it at the same time. I can hear Mom Cecile say, we can never pay for that. And they probably couldn't.
Where did they, your parents, where did they, when their parents, your great-grandparents, where were they, how long have the Swartfagers been around here?
Dad's grandfather came from Germany
Germany. So,
or Austria. I'm not sure which. Now Kenny, I think it was GE that flew him to Austria
oh,
to a plant over there.
okay.
And well, he got hooked up. He used to have conferences with half a dozen different countries on, I don't know if it was a telephone or computer.
Yeah,
I don't know which one. Never asked him, but anyway, he met this guy from Austria that did the same things over there pretty much as what GE was doing. Well, Kenny was doing a lot of work for GE, so they sent him over there to see how they did something or something. I don't know the full story. But anyway, they flew him over there, and this guy, he showed him around. And he said as soon as he introduced him to people, well, he said it was like I was a king. He said they recognized the name.
Sure.
And he said they had a museum there, and it had a clock in it that was made out of wood, and it laid flat on the floor. And they told him that Swartfagers had built that clock way back when. And he said they treated me like royalty.
All right.
And in fact, they flew him over there twice.
Oh, yeah. He's been all
Second
around
time
the
he
world.
took Kim with him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, exactly where my great-grandparents came from, but they came from Europe someplace, Austria, Germany. At that time, I think they was kind of all one. I don't think they was, at one time, I think at one time Germany encompassed Austria.
Kind of like the Ottoman Empire or something like that, or yeah, yes, there was.
And this guy got Kenny a paper, and I seen it. It's about the Swartfagers that lived there. And I think one of them, they said they were very religious. And I think one of them was like a pope, or not a pope, but a
Priest
or something, yeah. But anyway, we can't find that paper. And I seen it, he showed it to me over there. And I was thinking that he had brought it over to show Flo to Pearl. But she said she could never remember of it, and they looked through the safe and everything, and it wasn't in there. And Janet, she's been trying to get rid of some stuff, and I told her to keep her eye out for that, for just one sheet of paper, and I'd like to have it, but it seemed to have disappeared. So I don't know for sure, just what part of Europe it came from, but Dad said he spoke very little English. And Dad always wanted to be a blacksmith. He was always working with metal. And he said his granddad said, that's no good. You need to be working with wood. He said, metal's no good. And he didn't like them. And he told me, he said he wore a real tiny gold ring in the corner of his nose. He said you could hardly see it. But he said,
Who did this?
your
great grandfather.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of
Ahead of his time.
definitely ahead of his time.
And I said, kind of sounds like he's part gypsy.
Well,
But
Or
we have
something.
pictures of him, and you can't see it. But Dad said he said it was just a little wee ring. He said it was right in the corner of his nose, right next to his face. And so I don't know what that was, but
did you always wear glasses?
no. I did, about 40 I had to get glasses.
Yeah.
And you, Sandy?
About the same time, yeah.
That's when I had to get them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I couldn't get my arms out far enough.
Right,
The lighting wasn't good enough.
right. Yeah.
So. Well, once again, thank you for the everything.
It was enjoyable just talking to you. Never get to see you.
Yeah.
Trying to get it stopped, but it hasn't. There we go.